So we're going to introduce the panel. We've got a great group of folks here, but I want to, just say we've got a lot of great questions. We've got a lot of great thoughts here to share, and I want you all to be a part of it. So we've got a couple of roving mics. If we can share those. Yeah, they're up there. So if you have a question you want to ask the panel, please don't be shy. We don't want to make this formal. We really want to hear from you and make this an interactive kind of a thing. And also, throughout the presentation and the conversation we'll have, we encourage you to share this on this thing called Twitter. You guys familiar? Hashtag Audible Impact. So be sure to share your thoughts with your followers, and we can get started now. So the first panelist I'd like to introduce is Gerrick Kennedy. Gerrick Kennedy is an award-winning journalist covering pop music for the Los Angeles Times. Kennedy has covered everything from the death of pop titan Whitney Houston, hip-hop homophobia, to the resurgence of boy bands and female MCs. The Ohio native and proud Ohio State Buckeye, was a founding member of the campus chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists, and was, in 2012, was named the Emerging Journalist of the Year by the National Association of Black Journalists. In 2014, The Advocate featured Kennedy in its annual 40 Under 40 list. Please give him a hand. Next, we have the Honorable Mayor Lindsay Horvath of West Hollywood. Mayor Horvath has a long history of civic and social justice advocacy. She has spearheaded policies to make West Hollywood an age-friendly community to better serve residents of all ages, fighting to protect LGBTQ rights as a board member of the Victory Fund and the No Hate campaigns, standing up for survivors of domestic violence, and fighting for the advancement of women and girls as a global coordinator for the 1 Billion Rising campaign. Please welcome Mayor Horvath. Next, we have Jack Antonoff. Jack is an American musician and songwriter, best known as the lead singer and songwriter of Bleachers and lead guitarist of the indie rock band Fun. He was previously the lead singer of Steel Train. With Fun and his sister Rachel Antonoff, he formed the Allied Coalition to advocate for LGBTQ equality. Welcome, Jack Antonoff. Next, we have Jess Bowen. Jess has toured the world and released multiple records with established rock band The Somerset since 2007. She's a top role model for aspiring female drummers, love female drummers, and is an advocate for LGBTQ rights and anti-bullying initiatives. Thank you, Jess. And finally, we have Sage from the LA LGBT Center. Sage is one of the ambassadors for the Los Angeles LGBT Center. They were chosen as an ambassador because of their passion for the center's mission to empower, heal, and advocate for the LGBT community. Sage, welcome to the panel. Settled here. All right, so the first question, and again, we've got some mics here, and we encourage you guys to jump in at any moment. Don't be shy. The first question I want to raise for the group. On June 26, 2015, the Supreme Court had ruled that same-sex marriage bans were unconstitutional and opening up marriage equality for everyone. It was a big moment in American civil rights history and a big statement, I think, that many of us will remember. I want to ask, maybe just go down the line here, where were you when that announcement came, and how did it impact your life? Gerrick, we'll start with you.
I woke up to the news. Me and my boyfriend, we were in bed, and both of our phones had so many texts from friends and families, and we're both from really conservative parts of Ohio, so it was a really emotional moment for the both of us because we didn't know if we would ever be able to get married where we're from. So that was the reaction that we both had, was thinking about, oh, we can actually do this if we want to back in Ohio. Not that we're rushing to get married, because you know, but that was how I reacted to it. It was a really huge thing, but I just thought about home and just growing up and how I never thought I'd see that day.
Great. Mayor.
I'm actually from Ohio originally too. And
Wow.
I thought about my family, but I woke up at 6 a.m. I had friends calling me from DC, and they were like, "Lindsay, this is so exciting." And I realized it was going to be a day that I would remember for the rest of my life, and I knew that through the whole day. So it was really exciting to just know that every conversation I had is something that is going to be with me forever. And being mayor of the city of West Hollywood, which has really been at the forefront of the conversation for marriage equality and LGBTQ rights forever, it was pretty exciting. And we had a big rally that evening. There were thousands of people there, and I was asked to be the political speaker, kind of like today, I think. And so I knew that was like kind of a really big speech. And so if you've ever had to give a really big speech and gotten nervous, multiply that times like 1,000,000. And that's how I felt, because I was so excited about this historic moment in history. And it happened because we all cared enough to say something. So I'm really, really glad for that outcome.
I was in bed and I was sleeping. I always been very open that I wouldn't get married until everyone could get married, which doesn't mean I necessarily believe in marriage. It just means I wouldn't have done it then anyway. But my girlfriend woke me up and she was like, "Should we get married?" And I was like, "I don't know." So it was this hilarious interaction, and then I looked at my phone. There was like 1 billion texts, and I remember thinking. It was just like a calm feeling for a second, because I think whenever there's any issues where there's anyone in our world who doesn't have the same rights, which we still have plenty of those issues, and that's actually the second half of the day was, oh my God, this is the best day ever, and then it was thinking about trans rights and all the other issues that were sort of next, which I don't know if that's a dark way of looking at it, but a lot of people had that discussion too that day. So yeah, it started out really funny because it was this funny conversation with my girlfriend. And then it was just like total joy, and then it turned into, which I think it was for a lot of us, a lot of conversations of like, okay, great, now what's next? Because that's what happens. You celebrate for a minute, and then you think about all the people that can't celebrate because, they can still get fired for who they are.
Yeah, and we'll get into kind of the other stakes beyond that. So,
but I was really psyched.
You were super psyched. Yeah, we get that. Yeah. Jess.
We all seem to have similar stories as far as being in bed, and I was also in bed. I was on tour in San Antonio, Texas, and I woke up to my friends and my family leaving me voicemails and all the texts. I didn't pick up my phone because I was like, it's so early, why are you guys calling me?
Do you think someone was dead? Because I did when I saw my phone.
Did you? Yeah, well, I was wondering, my phone was, it was so early in the morning, and yeah, so I just let out a scream, honestly. I was in a hotel room, 2 other guys in my band were there, and they were like, why are you, they were upset that I just woke them up by screaming. And then I started jumping on the bed, and I was like, I can get married anywhere I want to in this country now. So that was a really cool feeling, just knowing that I could go anywhere, and marry the person that I love.
I wasn't sleeping. I was actually just roaming the halls, and I saw papers on the wall saying you can now get married, whether you're gay, lesbian, bi, trans, whatever, you can now get married in all 50 states. I was like, it's about damn time. I mean, not only for love, but, since we're in that national debt, I mean, you could charge for the marriages. But really, I was overjoyed because a long time ago, I had a conversation with my grandmother saying, why can't people get married? Why can't all people get married? Then, she threw the big black book with the gold, with the gold trim at me. And I was like, just wait and see. I didn't say that she would have hit me, but I was like, just wait and see. But I was overjoyed. I was like, finally, everybody can get married to who they love and just have that everlasting joy for the rest of their lives.
That's great. So, Sage, we'll stay with you. So help us frame the conversation today. Jack alluded to it a little bit in his remarks about now that marriage equality is a law of the land, the LGBTQ fight for equality is done. We're all done. Is that right?
We are not done. We have taken the first step up, many, many more steps. You can, LGBT, I don't know if everyone knows what the acronym is. It's actually kind of longer, but I'm going to condense it. Lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, and queer. You can still get fired from work if you have a picture of your partner on your desk. They could say it's something else, but it's actually discrimination. You can still be put out of bathrooms if you identify as a female, but you're born biologically male, you're a transgendered woman, you can still be kicked out of public restrooms. Places are now charging that person who went to the restroom with a fine for causing others discomfort just for going to the bathroom. Dressing rooms, there's discrimination. Even in regular high schools, those who identify as either male or female, those who are gay, those who are lesbian, those who are just androgynous, they fall in the middle, or two-spirit, who they just are who they are. There's discrimination there. And we have so much more way to go. It's just that we finally had a victory after our long work, but that's just the first hurdle of many.
Thanks, Sage. Gerrick, I want to go to you in talking about how we've got a long way to go. It was just 10 years ago that Massachusetts was the only state that had legal same-sex marriages. So as someone who's covered the intersection of social change and culture in your career, what is it about this movement in particular that has made this movement unique, that has driven so much change in a relatively short amount of time in the last 10 years?
The biggest thing I think about is probably visibility. I mean, I think of when I was growing up with dreams of wanting to cover pop stars, whatever. I didn't have anyone who looked like me, that was gay, that said they were gay. So it was a really big deal a couple years ago when, Frank Ocean wrote that letter, or when, we have Sam Smith, walk in his own truth and not have to have this big moment. Is just very nonchalant about it, because that's how I came out. I was very nonchalant about it because to me, and this is not advice to anybody, I just didn't think that I was special because I had the same sex orientation attraction. So I just didn't think there was anything special about me. So I just brought my boyfriend home to my parents, which is probably really reckless now that I think about it as I've gotten older. And I've had friends, especially as black men, like the other people have had a lot of different experiences from mine, so I'm always cognizant of that, and I try to be really respectful to all of those stories. But that's the biggest thing that I thought about was, now we're at a time where we're seeing so many more of these images, and I think that's really important, especially for, the youth who, unlike me or unlike maybe a Frank or a Sam or a Jesse from Empire, we didn't have these images growing up. So now that we're seeing them and also seeing them be accepted by everybody, I think that's the biggest difference between what's happening right now versus 10 years ago where we were.
Jack and Jess, the artists on the panel here, I want to ask you guys, gals, you've been really great activists and advocates for this community, and I wanted to ask you of when there were moments where there's an artistic expression, a song, a piece of culture that changed the way you saw the world. Gerrick mentioned the exposure, visibility. Were there moments like that as artists that you felt inspired by and you saw, whoa, this changes the way normal is, or what is true?
You want to go first?
You can go first.
You want me to go
I'll
first?
let you go
Okay.
first.
There's been so many. I mean, it's funny because I'm 31, so when I grew up, Eddie Murphy's huge special, he had this joke about catching gay. And that wasn't a weird joke, like that would be, you'd be fired and shunned now as you should. If you that was just culture. That was also a time, I think, and you almost can't blame him in a way because the government was telling us it was a disease. So up until what year was it? Does anyone know that they changed what year was it? Was it 80s? It was the 80s. So there was, for anyone who doesn't know, before that, the government and, the head of whatever psychological organizations from the government said that being gay was a disease. So that was coming, straight down from the top. If you were a therapist and you aided someone in coming out or anything like that, you could be fired. So you had, big stars like Eddie Murphy, being extremely homophobic, and that's just kind of the culture. And then all the way up to, I remember when Ellen came out on TV, and of course, it was a huge moment. It was really powerful. But looking back on it, it was like they had to make a big joke out about it. And she said she was gay, and it got caught in the mic. Remember that? And then everyone heard, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're gay!" And then literally after she came out, her show fell apart, and she lost her show because no one wanted to watch it anymore because no one wanted to see a gay woman on TV, which is absurd. And then all the way up to kids calling things gay when I was in high school. I was really made fun of a lot for being gay, which I'm not gay, but I had blue hair, and so I grew up in a time, this is the late 90s, where anything alternative was just gay, which is also completely absurd. So it just kept shifting, kept changing, and all these little things Ellen being the first one. Sorry, I'm bringing up a lot of negative ones, but for some reason that's how I remember it. Is I remember a lot of because it's a positive thing. 'Cause what I'm saying is there were all these things that were very normal. Like on a sitcom, it used to be normal to say things homophobic, and then just as time goes on, less one specific cultural thing that happened. I think it's amazing that those jokes are just not interesting anymore. They're not funny. They're not relevant, and we've sort of come to this point where we've backed anyone into a corner that would think that's funny or interesting. Like, I'm sure you guys can totally agree with this. If you were at like a dinner table and someone said something homophobic, you'd like no one would be interested in it. They'd probably get kicked out of the party, and that was not the case like 10 years ago. And I remember it very specifically. So culturally, I'm just so excited and amazed that like the verdict's out of the things that are not to be tolerated.
Yeah, I mean, based on what Jack was saying, I grew up in a very conservative part of Arizona, and there really was no visibility. I didn't have any friends, I didn't have any peers, I didn't really have anyone in the media or even in the music that I listened to that was very open about their sexuality. And so to me, I didn't even, I didn't have anyone to look to like guide me. I knew that something was a little different with me. It was like, I know that I'm attracted to women, but I feel like I'm not supposed to be because, I mean, it's not normal. And when you're in high school, that was when I was really struggling with it because you want to fit in. I think in high school, that's like the time that you just kind of want to blend in and be normal, whatever that is. And so I kind of just went along with that until I realized that I was severely depressed because I wasn't being honest with myself and I wasn't making true connections with other people, because how can you make a connection with someone else if you're not being honest with yourself? But yeah, I mean, like you said, it was almost like there's like a negative connotation. Like when I was growing up to being gay, people would say it as a term of like, oh, you're, in a negative way. And so it's great to see that as a society, I think we're all changing. No one really, my friends don't use that term in a negative way. And so, I mean, it's really great to see that. So, there's still a lot of steps to be taken, but I do think that we're headed in the right direction.
It's also nice that culturally, just to add this, because I remember growing up, the gay figures that were accepted were like some sort of super stereotype. So like in a movie, it would have to be like this like wacky version of a gay people as defined by straight people. Typically old, straight, white people who tend to define everything. So it's nice that that's not the case anymore. And I think now we're seeing that with trans people we see on TV and in the media, where it's like there was a lot of people, when Caitlyn Jenner came out, Jon Stewart did an amazing thing because everyone wouldn't shut up about how hot she was. Like as if that was their way of being like, I'm cool with it, but it's like, congratulations, now you're a woman, you're totally devalued, and people are only gonna talk about how hot you are, not that you won gold medals in the Olympics. And that's a funny thing that happens, where it's like, it's part of the growing pains, but we'll look back on that in 5 years and be like, we wouldn't, as an entire country, just yell about how hot someone is for no reason. We're just doing that because she's a woman, that's the way we feel comfortable doing it.
Others on the panel about cultural music, art that made you think differently or maybe challenge your views? Anything? Anyone in the audience have a question? So we've got some roving mics here. So we've got a few hands in the middle of the room.
Oh, hi. I'm Katie Thanos. I go to El Dorado High School, and I'm here with Mrs. Cavaluzzi.
It's so cool that you're in high school. Seriously.
Yeah.
High school is the best.
It is great.
Well, my biggest question is, like, our parents and grandparents were able to witness things like the civil rights movement and some of them even women's rights. But how do we, as young people, involve ourselves in this movement instead of just watching it pass by? I mean, it's beautiful to see this making a history, but how do we make ourselves a part of it?
Well, I think I want to direct that to the mayor. We had this great conversation backstage about what to do, what we can actually do on these issues. So please.
I love your question. It's my favorite question to answer, actually. Giving people actual, tangible things to do is the thing that's going to keep you hooked on this. When I was in school, I was a nerd. I was totally outcast. And the good news is you can still be mayor of the coolest city in America. But I always felt like if I was given something to do and I accomplished something, I was like, great, I'm going to do more of that because that's what I want to do. You know, whether it's to build up your resume to go to college or to make somebody else happy or make yourself feel happy, whatever the reason was. And so I think one of the things that was really important to me in becoming mayor and being a younger mayor, I'm told I'm the youngest female mayor in the country, but I don't know if that's true. But as part of our Pride Month this year in June, Mayor Garcetti and I brought forward an LGBTQ youth action plan to make sure that every city in America who wants it, we can give it to them and tell them how to care for LGBTQ youth in their own community. We give them all of the resources. We identify a lot of the priority issues for youth that were identified from the community to us. We never want to tell young people what to think. I mean, that's the most annoying thing in the world. But I think making sure that we actually gave young people things to do and become engaged is the most important thing. When I was working on the backlog of untested rape kit evidence in the city and county of Los Angeles, and I wrote a letter that I literally gave to every person I knew. And we sent them to Mayor Villaraigosa, and ultimately the backlog got funded. And so some of my friends who were not political at all did not care one bit about rape kits or anything that I had to say, quite frankly, but still signed the paper anyway, probably just to make me go away. They asked me, hey, a couple months later, hey, whatever happened with that? And I said, well, actually, because you signed that piece of paper, the city of Los Angeles gave this many millions of dollars to clear that backlog, and I can tell you today that backlog is now clear because of that funding. And that means that women, many women, probably some men too, had the chance at justice just because somebody signed something. So your question is great because there are definitely ways to get involved, and I try to be somebody who uses government to get more people involved. So I'm happy to talk with you after too, if you like, about all different kinds of things you can do. There's so much work to be done.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Great question. We had another one here, I think. You raise your hand and get you a mic.
Hi, I'm Megan Clements, and I go to El Dorado, and I was just wondering, how do you guys think that the media can better represent the trans community?
It's not all Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
It's not, and I'm not being a hater when I say this, but she is just one of the many transgendered women. There's Janet Mock, there's Laverne Cox, there's so many more, and basically now since Caitlyn Jenner has came out, everything she does will be such what all transgender women do. She's not. She's just a person like everybody else. A great person. I'm not knocking her down, but a person nonetheless. So it'll be more about education and going out and seeing everybody else in the world, and not just like let one person speak for everyone.
I think it'd be nice too if the media could portray more trans people that don't look like some super stereotypical version of a hot person, because it's exciting to see that out there, but at the same time it's like, I have to imagine that the average person transitioning doesn't have Caitlyn Jenner's resources and incredible hair and makeup always, and it's just not a fully realistic vision. So it'd be nice for both people who are transitioning and for people like me who are understanding it, just to see more images of what it actually looks like in reality. But that's something that obviously goes way deeper into issues with Hollywood and the media. But specifically for that, just because it's so politically charged and so important, and right now Americans are learning about it and a lot of them are afraid of it, it would be nice if it was a bit more broad.
Well, maybe I'll ask Garrett, as a journalist here, where are those places to find more realistic, more diverse examples of trans people, of LGBTQ people, where they're not stereotyped and they're not put in these different boxes?
I think the first thing to do is reach out to the community. I mean, and I say we by the media, we have sort of a way of treating everything like a trending topic. So because Caitlyn is so hot right now, we only want to continue to write about Caitlyn. And I think my fear is that the conversation will stop once the show is ran through its cycle and we move on to the next thing, because that's, again, what the media tends to do. on a regular basis. That's how they operate. They operate on what headline is the hottest right now. And so it would be great, to reach out and start looking at those. What are the other stories? What are the, how many murders this year have there been that's not really being covered because we still want to write about how hot Caitlyn is or how hot Laverne is in, the new movie and things like that. So that's what I really want to happen first. And I think starting there is a really great jumping point, and it sounds so simple, but it's like the hardest thing for the media. It's like you would be surprised to hear in newsrooms like how these conversations happen, where it's like how many ways can you still write about the same thing? When Caitlyn came out, those stories, so much of it focused less on what the community was actually doing and the work that it was, and more on, oh wow, that's like, how can we now talk about the Kardashians through the scope of this? And so I think if we get outside of the trend and the headline and the clicks, then I think we could do a little bit more and great work. So that's a great place to start.
Great. We had a question here. Yeah.
Um,
Your name
Hi.
and your school.
my name is Alexandria. I'm also an ambassador for the LGBT Center as well. My question is, is it a trend? And what I say trend is Caitlyn Jenner a trend? Because when she came out, I saw so many girls, just all of a sudden just say that, oh, I'm transgender, all of a sudden. And I feel like, there's so many average trans women, like me, myself, I'm a trans woman. And, we have, the average trans woman, we go through so much. We have to walk outside and we have to worry about, random guys just coming up to us and just bothering us, and it's so much stuff we have to face. And, when you look at Caitlyn Jenner, she glamour, hair, clothes, or whatever. We don't have that. Me, myself, I don't have that, and when I speak for many trans women, that, I'm around, and, I just feel like it's very disrespectful when, you have a trans woman coming in. God knows I respect Caitlyn Jenner, but, when do we get out of just, thinking about the beauty and the hair and the clothes? It's so much more to being a trans woman than that. And I just feel like, how can we change, prostitution? How can we change, homelessness? It's so many trans women living on the street. And I walk down Santa Monica a lot, and I see so many, prostitutes out there, and they give their body up for money and sex, and they can't find employment. How can we confront that?
Yeah. Are we trivializing?
Well, it's
a lot
all
of these issues?
a trickle down, right? So it's like I used to think. So, for example, with marriage equality, I used to think, okay, that would be, we don't have the same rights. Everyone deserves the same rights. Blah blah blah. Right? I didn't realize until I learned a lot about it that, that's up here. Okay, and then because someone is gay or bi or trans or whatever, let's say they're in their home and they come out to their parents, and their parents say, well, no fucking way, you can't live here. And then they're homeless on the street. And then you find out, well, 40% of all teens on the street are LGBTQ, and they're on the street because of this. So you realize that what seems like just like a political issue, just like you're talking with prostitution, that's a huge issue because there aren't tons of options for those people. And so if there were more options, like what you were talking about, if you were trans and you weren't going to get fired, or you could get hired and you weren't going to be discriminated against in the workplace, then so many more people wouldn't be on the street and have to find work that way. So what you said about Caitlyn Jenner, I don't know what that would, that must be such an interesting position for you, because it's like you deal with that on a very real level. And then this person comes out and it's so exciting and it's popular and everyone's like, I love trans people. And you're like, you're probably like, yeah, where the fuck were you? Yeah, a year ago,
Before,
Totally.
people just called us he and,
Yeah.
and she-male.
I'm sure you've met people that literally once probably made fun of you and now think you're cool. And that's a terrible feeling. But the only thing that I could say, and it's just speaking from someone who's completely amazed by, your journey, is that's awesome that you went through that. I mean, I'm sure it was, many terrible elements for you, but that's incredibly character building and amazing, and things get easier. And I'm sure, it's like my grandfather, who went through so much crap just to get to America and probably looked at me and was like, you little brat, like, you'll grow up and see people that are, have no struggle transitioning, because that'll hopefully be the world we live in, and you'll know that you paved the way for that. And so I think there's frustration, but it's also really amazing.
We have another question. It's hard to see with lights.
Hello, so my name is Jalen Raynaud, and I attend Washington Preparatory High School. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the area, but it's not a great area. And I too, everyone doesn't know like my life, but I too identify as a trans woman, and I live a double life. Like I can go out and and do what I do, and I mean like people really won't notice. Like I've been to my job and like they wouldn't notice me, but it's like I like do live the double life, and I understand like how hard it is to like really truly be yourself like with no support. Like my mom is like so against it. Like, and I'm 17 and a senior in high school, so I still have like plans and goals, and like I want to go to college. Like I want to be like a support system for those and be strong for those who are going through the same thing that I'm going through, who can't like be themselves 24/7 because are afraid of what is going to happen, and who like might try to kill you or this and that. So I do what I do because kind of like I'm trying to be a rock for other people who are scared to put on that wig or scared to put on that lipstick or that makeup or really put on that bra or that crop top or those jeans because of who is gonna. I don't mind. Like this is my thing.
Well,
like
just want to get to a question here. We have a few other hands I want to get to, but
I have a question though. But my thing is like where do you go? Like what can you do? What can we do to kind of give ourselves that like what can I do to kind of like open it up for people like to make it easier or in a sense to like for those people who can't live like what did you suggest how can we help because like Caitlyn Jenner like I know I don't have those I do have Kaiser care so like things are covered but I know I don't have the money and all the like the surgeries it takes to be that beautiful I mean to really so it's hard like how can normal people who it wasn't okay before Caitlyn it probably still isn't okay who are scared to be themselves 24/7 because of what can happen like like when does it stop like when like is it okay for transgenders to have a 9-to-5 or normal job or be a big figure but it doesn't have millions like like when are we gonna have our chance like the real people us like black
Well, I think
others.
it's starting by you telling your story. I mean, the fact that you are standing in a room of all of these people in front of some people who are complete strangers to you and speaking your truth about the fact that you cannot be who you know yourself to be all the time, 24 hours a day, in front of everyone. Like, I want to create a world where you don't have to live that way, and that's why I do what I do. And so you telling your story and so many other people telling their stories helps people like me have the will in the community to be able to do things like we did in West Hollywood, where all the single occupancy bathrooms, if you just walk in and it's a oney, some people call it, they're gender neutral and they have signs on them that say that throughout the whole city. We are able to bring forward legislation and talk about these issues in a real way like you are because you're telling your story and you're speaking your truth. And it's the responsibility of people like me and all of us up here who have a place in any sort of public realm to be able to create a world where you feel safe. And organizations like the LA LGBT Center, like the Trevor Project, provide resources, hotline for you to call just to know that somebody's there for you to be able to talk about these things, because the truth is, even though sometimes we can feel really, really, really alone in our story, we're never alone. There's always somebody there. And whether you're calling a hotline or you're remembering this very moment where you told this story and this whole room is holding you, and our intention right now, knowing you and loving you for exactly who you are, just remembering that moment that it was okay for you to tell your story here, that's that's the world that we're trying to create, and that's why I think we're all here having this conversation.
Also, just really quick, I want you to do a really big favor for me. Sweetie, I want you to hold your head up and remember you are so beautiful. And don't use words like normal. They're so not true. So not true. And you don't even realize it. But every day you being who you are, you're helping somebody else. They might not have the courage to tell you that, but you are. Trust me, trust all of us when we tell you that. Like, you have to believe that. And you have to walk in that truth every single day, because on top of you saving yourself, you're saving other people and you're educating other people. So just remember that.
We have a question there, and we have one down here.
Okay, I got the mic. My name's Sunshine Cavaluzzi. I'm very proud to be a social science teacher at El Dorado High School in Orange County. And I'm sure you guys are as inspired as I am that we have a room full of high school students who are here on their Friday afternoon. In our case, their summer Friday. It's their last day of summer vacation, and I'm sure that's true of some of the other students, because they're passionate about activism in all shapes and sizes. And I would say, as activists yourselves, what's the best piece of advice you ever got about activism, or what would you tell your high school self about being an activist if you could now, so that you can tell their high school selves your sort of best wisdom about creating change or being an activist?
Well, since I'm just fresh out of high school, 2 years ago, I like to say, don't stop advocating for what you believe in. Do not, because it could take many ugly twists and turns. Some things you may have believed in before, you're not so sure about now, but you need that extra oomph and confirmation on it. Do not give up. I used to be part of GSA in high school. Not many people liked it. Some people only came for the pizza at lunchtime. But there were just about 3 of us who stayed to the end. And when it was disbanded the next year, senior year, I fought tooth and nail just to get it back, so the next years and the year after that, they can continue to have it. And from what I hear, they still have it. And it's not just GSA anymore. They include all the alphabet soup, LGBTQ. So what I have to say is, do not stop advocating for whatever you believe in. And also, remember that people are people no matter how they identify, because at the end of the day, we're human. We may not think we look human, but we're human nonetheless.
Sage, you and I had a great conversation before, and we talked about some of the untold stories of this movement. Tell us a little bit about the issue that we discussed that needs to be elevated and we just aren't talking about.
Where do I start? There have been 19 confirmed deaths of trans women of color this year alone so far, from January to now. And there are many more, but these are the ones that have been shown light. Like the spotlight shone on me, these are the only ones that people have known about. There needs to be stopped, there needs to be more awareness, there needs to come to a complete halt, or at least educate people more. As well as, I believe that Jack said 40% of homeless youth on the street are LGBTQ. Homeless youth only take about 10% of the population. Last numbers were 2.5 million children in 2013. How is it that we take up 40% of that? In any given year, I got this from dailynews.com, so don't really quote them. They said in any given year, there are more than 100,000 children, 17 and under, that are homeless. That's 40,000 LGBT youth. That is ridiculous. And the top reasons why taking out the surveys was because of family. There was no acceptance. Or there was acceptance, but it came with conditions. Oh, I love you, but you can't stay here. Oh, you're going to turn your brother or sister gay. Oh, it's contagious. Oh, it's this, and that. At the center, there have been stories of parents dropping off their children there and leaving them because they don't know how to deal with it. And it's just going on, and we're trying to do something about it. I don't know if you may have heard, but Cyndi Lauper has come up with the project, the 40 to None, bringing down that very huge statistic of 40% down to absolutely 0. And you can look that up, 40 to None project.
Great. We have a question down here, probably 1 or 2 questions before we wrap up.
Hi, my name is Amir. I'm from Washington with Ms. Cole. I'm nervous.
It's okay. I'm nervous too.
I'm sorry. So I know you guys have been talking about the 40% of people, children, teenagers being homeless. And I wanted to ask, I know the LGBTQ community does a lot to help people, but how come it doesn't do a lot to help when kids come out to their parents? Because I had an issue coming out to my parents, and I know people who have had issues coming out to their parents. I know somebody who got kicked out of their home, and I don't think there's enough like talk about coming out to your parents because people just don't know how to do it, and then they have to live with fear of coming out to their parents or
It's okay.
other people, and it's. I'm sorry. It's because I saw him cry, and I feel like crying. But it's. I just wanted to know, like, why isn't that like super talked about? Because it's like really important.
I think someone can interject in the audience for us real quick. Martel?
Hello, how y'all doing today? I'm one of the mentors for our wonderful sage here.
He's my right-hand man.
But I just wanted to talk about that. I think the challenges in all of our public being able to provide these resources that are readily available for our youth, because there are resources out there that help with parents having conversations with their children about coming out. There's the LA LGBT Center has a wide wraparound of services for that. So there's like Project Spin, which actually works with LAUSD in providing these types of resources to give to the students, to give to the teachers, having these conversations with parents. I think one thing as a community we need to, even addressing what the young woman said there in the back, having that opportunity to mobilize with your peers, mobilize as students. You're a strong force. You can do that with no regard. Mobilizing together, getting those resources for each other, and making sure that you're taking care of each other, having those conversations with your teachers to therefore have conversations with administration, to therefore have conversations with the families, the PTAs that some of the schools have. So I think that's one thing just to keep in regards to where to get that information at, and knowing that there is information out there and there's resources, but finding it and making sure it's available for your students, for your peers, is the biggest key that's really missing a lot of. But as students, you can work on that and you can get that together and really mobilize.
I'd love to learn from you. Where would be a good place for you to learn about those kinds of resources? Because it's clear that they exist, but it sounds like you don't know where they are for you. So, like, where do you go to get information? Just so we can make suggestions to some of those organizations about where they should be sharing that kind of information.
Like I don't know, maybe like commercials or something. I mean, people watch TV, magazines, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter.
Got it.
Yeah, like. Cool. I know, but I mean, like, maybe just a show or a segment on coming out to your parents and being gay with your family, not gay or lesbian, trans. You know what I mean? Like,
I get you.
Sorry.
I get you.
But like, yeah, just to talk about that, because it's hard to come out to like parents who don't want to really accept you. Like my grandma, she's 70. I have no idea how old she is, but it's like I came out to her and everything changed. She doesn't trust me. She doesn't trust where I go. She didn't want me to act like that around my brother for a while because she was afraid that, I don't know, like I'd influence him and the way I talk, and she kind of like restricts me on a lot of stuff. And my friend's parent, she kicked her out her house, and she was in like a foster home for like a really, really long time. And I wanted to take her in, but I couldn't even ask my grandma to do that because I knew she would have a lot to say. But I don't know. I think that maybe if kids could have more access to it and they knew where to go to get information, then I think it would be a little easier. And for the parents too, because like things are different now. I'm gonna sit down because I'm gonna start crying.
So we got one last question up here.
Yeah, my name's.
Two last questions. Okay.
Well, one thing real quick, though, about what you were saying is it's also, there is a time factor. So it's like, not your grandmother, because I hope she lives forever, but and I don't mean this to sound terrible, but a lot of, a generation needs to sort of die off. You know, I mean, my grandfather, I talked to him about civil rights, and it was like, he was great, and he marched with Martin Luther King in Washington. He was an amazing person, but, you know, most people of his time didn't think that. And then, you know, 2 generations later, me, it's like, I can't even imagine, well, actually I can, we have horrible race issues in America, but as far as equal rights, at least on paper, I can't imagine what that would be like. And so if I have kids one day, they'll say, what was it like when gay people and trans people had less rights? And I'll be like, well, this is, I'll try to explain it. And they'll be like, that's crazy. It makes no sense to me. So there's, as far as you talking about also an older generation and them learning how to speak to their kids and kids coming out, like, if you have kids, you would know what to say, because you're from a generation, you are who you are. So there is a time factor that I even think in the past 5 years, we've seen how amazing it's gotten as a certain group of people have gotten older. And like, I meet kids now who are in high school, and it's like, they wouldn't even think to give a shit what someone's sexuality is or how they identify. Like, it's just totally fine. And 10 years ago when I was in high school, it was like hell for that. So time is really important.
So we'll go here, and then we'll go here.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Raul Preciado, teacher at Washington Prep High School. As a heterosexual male myself, what can we, and when I say we, I mean the heterosexual community, do to become real allies to the LGBT community? Because I believe that that's one of the big obstacles that exists. That, I can't be your ally because, all of a sudden I'm going to be called gay or whatever. So what is it that how can we form alliances? What type of alliances? And what kind of real things that we can do, and the gay community, LGBT, can reach out to the heterosexual community and do projects and things that promote a more tolerant environment?
I'm straight, and I always think to myself that you have to look at it like, if you had less rights and were treated a certain way because you're straight, what would you want your gay and trans and bisexual friends to do? You want them to care, and you'd want them to talk about it. And the most important thing is to listen, because one thing that can happen is sometimes, when you get really fired up about an issue, you don't want to take on someone else's pain. It's still about them. You have to listen and try to understand what someone else is going through, and truthfully just do whatever you can. I think the most important thing that we can do as people is establish ourselves as like these like cells where, making it clear to your friends and your family and everyone you work with that you think a certain way, and that you are not homophobic, and you're not transphobic, and you're not racist, and you're all these things, and that you don't tolerate that in any way. And when things happen in the world, you really give a crap. That's so important, just to the people around you, and especially as you say you're a teacher? Yes, sir. So, I mean, you're in a massive position of power. You're, creating an environment. So it's, I'm a musician, right? So at my concerts, I have gender-neutral bathrooms, and that's not something that is all over the world, but just like you have a classroom and I have a concert, you have to take your space, whether that's, you're talking to 10,000 people, a classroom of kids, or one person at a dinner table. You have to take your space and say, all right, the world is really messed up, but in this space, there's no discrimination. You can be whatever you want in this space. So as a teacher, I think that you have like an amazing ability to say, like, this classroom, you can be whatever you want. And maybe in another classroom, you might deal with some crap, but not in this classroom.
I'd like to add on to that. Back at Fairfax High, we actually had several, basically all the classrooms. They would have a rainbow triangle in their door, a decal. And I also let the students know it's a safe space. It's called the Project 10. I don't know if the name has changed by now, but it's a safe space for the students to go if they want to talk about certain things. If they wanted to just go hang out there, but they knew they were able to go there without any type of discrimination based on how they identify or who they like or what their orientation is. And also as a teacher, speak with other teachers, not necessarily about the students, but necessarily about the experience that the students may have went through, and see how those can either be changed, how can they be formulated into whatever those things called plans, lesson plans. It's been years, I'm sorry. And try to see how you could just make it safe for all students, especially LGBTQ is we're a sensitive pack. It's hard because people think they need to tiptoe around, but really just treat us as we are. Treat us as your students, treat us as humans, treat us like you would someone at a bus stop. You don't want us to sit next to you, it's fine. I don't like people sit next to me because I have anxiety, but not because, homophobic or xenophobic or all that other jazz.
Last question right here.
Yeah, my name's Sean Bell, and I'm an ambassador with the Youth Center. And my question is actually for the mayor. Recently, I was working a job that showed severe discrimination to me and my friend, and said that we only hire real women who is a transgender. How can we go about, instead of, also working on getting transgender women able to work, but also how can we get it to where the job that maybe discriminates against them is punished for it? Because that should be a focus, because if a job is afraid of punishment, then they're not going to discriminate. So, and I quit my job due to that discrimination. They told me that they had me bring my friend in there for an interview, knew she was transgender, brought her in there, made fun of her, and when she left said, we only hire real women. What were you thinking?
I'm so sorry for that experience. Thank you for telling your story. The most specific answer I can give you is there's a bill called the Employment Non-Discrimination Act that's in Congress, and that to me, I know that we've been taking on a lot of battles at the national level, but to make every workplace safe under the law, to me, that's a real game changer. I think marriage was huge, and especially because of the connotation of marriage and a lot of religious undertones and all of that, that was really important. But being able to make every workplace safe, that workplaces are required to hold certain values, I think is really important. And so let's get together. Let's write to our congresspeople. Let's sit down and have meetings to educate them about why they need to pass this bill, because it's essential. In our community, we work with our Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is sort of a collection of all of the different businesses in our city. And so it's a business community, and we educate them on our city's core values, and we ask them to educate their businesses about our city's core values, because otherwise they're not going to be so successful in our community because we won't patronize them. So that's another organization, your local Chamber of Commerce, to help educate businesses. Unfortunately, shaming does a really good job of making people change their minds about what they're doing. So raising your voice about what that business is, if you feel comfortable to do that, and letting people know in your community what that business was and what your experience was, and helping to spread the word about how you were treated. And, I think that...
You have a duty to do that. I wouldn't want to eat at whatever restaurant that is. You should stand outside there with a sign that says this place doesn't hire trans women. Yeah. And then, yeah, you have a lot of power to do that.
Or go to Yelp, Yelp it. The rating go down real quick.
Let's give our panel a round of applause. And give yourselves a round of applause. It's a really great audience. Great questions. So before we wrap up, we're taking a picture here? Yeah. All right, we're just going to act like we're being casual here and not posing for a photo. It didn't encourage anyone to do that while we're actually doing the panel? No? No? We're waiting now?
But I also want to say I get called out a lot for being a young elected official, and just get called out for being young in general, so I assume that probably happens to you too. And I just want to tell you, what you have to say matters now. I get told a lot, when you're older, you'll understand what I mean, or when you're older, you'll be able to do this, that, or the other. But your voice matters now. You're part of a generation that's growing up in, a technological age, and with so many things that are available to you that a generation or two ahead don't even understand. So you have a huge leg up. So just so you know, and just so you hear it, people who hold my seat understand that you actually have a lot more power than anybody gives you credit for. And I just want you to own that power and use it to your advantage, because we can't make change without you. So
this is a politician, by the way. Isn't it amazing? Right? Pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good. But are we good? Before we adjourn, we have a very special performance from Jack Antonoff, who will close out our panel. So thank you so much, and ladies and gentlemen, Jack Antonoff.
How you guys doing? Yeah? So is everyone in high school? Or not everyone? 5 years out? I'm like 1,000 years out. So there's El Dorado, right? Man, just say where someone goes to school and they go nuts. Washington. El Dorado. Washington. Are there other high schools? Did I miss one? Pacific Hills. Pacific Hills. That's another thing. You can say something, and then you can say it in a douchier voice, and you get more of a reaction. I'm going to play a song. Is anybody coming to the thing tonight? Yeah, it's like one person. Hey, maybe we can invite more of them, but yeah. Guys, just accost that guy if you want to try to come tonight. You guys are really incredible. It was so nice to be able to talk to you. I'm going to play a song called I Want to Get Better. Are any of you guys musicians? Yeah, I know you're a great singer. I was at their center today, and this guy's an amazing country singer. Seriously. If anybody works on country music, you should meet him after and make music together. Hey, I hear the voice of the preacher from the back room, calling my name, and I follow just to find you. Trace the faith to a broken down television, and I put on the weather. Yeah, I trained myself to give up on the past, 'cause I frozen time between hearses and caskets. Lost control when I panicked at the acid test. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind, 'cause the love that I gave wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night. I got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at myself, hey, I wanna get. Didn't know I was lonely until I saw your face. I wanna get better and better, better, better. I wanna get. Didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. Wanna get better and better, better, better. I wanna get to my room where there's girls on the ceiling. Cut out the pictures and I'll chase that feeling of an 18-year-old who didn't know what loss was. Now I'm a stranger, and I'll miss the days of a life still permanent, more than the years before I got carried away. Now I'm standing on the interstate, screaming at myself, hey, I wanna get better. No, I was lonely till I saw your face. I wanna get better and better, better, better. I wanna get. Didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better and better, better, better. I wanna get better, 'cause I'm sleeping in the back of a taxi, screaming from my bedroom window, even if it's gonna kill me. Pacific Heights, was that it? Was that it? Pacific Hills, sorry. I was gonna yell it, and then I couldn't remember it. Pacific Hills. You're walking right into it. Watch this. Pacific Hills. See? You know that I woke up this morning early before my family. From this dream, she was trying to show me how a life can move from the darkness. Yeah, she said they get better. So I put a bullet where I should have put a helmet, and I crashed my car 'cause I want to get carried away. Now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars, hey, I want to get. Didn't know I was lonely until I saw your face. I want to get better and better, better, better. I want to get. Didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I want to get better, 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 better. I want to get better. Thank you, guys.